stuff. Good morning, everybody. It's great to have you all this morning. Normally, I am joined by Shannon Poulsen. Unfortunately, she had a short-term conflict, and so she won't be able to join us this morning, unfortunately, so you're stuck with me. My name is Urs Koenig. I've been a student of leadership for most of my life as an academic, a business executive, an executive coach, keynote speaker, and as a UN peacekeeper. We're talking about crisis leadership, and today's topic is about managing our energy. And it's very timely that we're going to talk about energy management, because I spent the last 48 hours traveling. I'm actually in Switzerland currently, and I can't see you, but you can text me questions. Yes, thank you. Text me questions, and do my best to multitask. But before you freak out about shelter in place and you shouldn't travel, and you're of course absolutely right, I traveled to Switzerland to do some work for my upcoming peacekeeping mission this fall. And as you are all aware, of course, COVID-19 doesn't really care. The refugee camps are still there. The ceasefire violations are still happening. So I had to travel to Switzerland to prepare for my mission this fall. So it's good that we're talking about energy management. I had my Swiss coffee and my Swiss chocolate to keep me going. Excellent. So enough about my last 40 hours. So managing our energy and managing the energy of our team. I don't have to tell you, there is so much negativity coming at us, and many of us let it come to us. And so that's one of the things I want to talk about. The news we consume, TV, radio, social media, and there's been studies now done, there's a significant uptick in the time we spend on social media. It's almost all negative. In the US, we just passed 100,000 fatalities. So it's the portal in, what's coming in at us is so negative, and what's coming in at our teams is so negative. So how do we elevate? How do we dig ourselves out and elevate? Couple of things. I've read about this one executive, and I absolutely love this example. A CEO of a corporate, of a large corporation, at the very beginning of the pandemic, she would, during her 7 a.m. daily Zoom calls with her top team, she'd place some silly objects in the background, so that every morning at 6:55 a.m., her whole executive team was all giddy, wondering what object she would now hide in the background this time. So humor, using appropriate humor to lighten the mood, is a wonderful way to elevate ourselves. It's what one of my clients did at the beginning of a team meeting, team check-in. Share an act of kindness you've observed over the last week or so, shining a light that despite all that's going on in the world, there's still a lot of good out there. And then, of course, it's the usual suspects for all of us. It's meditation, it's exercising, it's having clear boundaries, and I'll talk about this at the very end today. Clear boundaries about work and play, and then connection. We are social beings as human beings. So whatever we can do virtually or social distancing, connection, let's seek out those connections. So the time outside, the exercise and the meditation, whatever it is that we know fuels ourselves, and less coffee and less red wine, of course, for all of us. What's going on right now reminds me a lot of a situation I was in 25 years ago. And even though it's a long time ago, it's still vividly in my mind. I was competing in the Swiss championships in a 4x10 kilometer relay. We had chances to medal. I was the first skier, cross-country skiing, I was the first skier out. First, I was two 5-kilometer laps. The first lap was fine. I was with a group. Beginning of the second lap, first hill, I had trouble breathing. I couldn't get any air into my lungs. The second hill, my legs went out on me. The third hill, I was hardly able to stand up. I was starting to black out. Coaches were yelling at me left and right. They tried to pull me off the course. I wouldn't get off the course. You do not DNF. You do not finish a relay because you're skiing for your 3 friends. I did finish in dead last, handed over the baton to the next guy. I felt devastated. I just let down my team. What happened? I disregarded the first principle of exercise physiology, and that's the application, making the loop now to what's going on right now. If we want to improve in physical training, we have to train and recover. We have to give a stimulus, we have to train and then recover. If we only do one of those things, we won't improve. And that's what happened to me. I overtrained. I ran myself into the ground. I didn't sleep enough. I had stress during my studies. I was totally in overtraining and ran myself into the ground. And I think that comes up for me a lot when I experience myself and a lot of my clients and their teammates during this pandemic. We need to make sure we're reconnecting, we're recharging, we're doing this. We're giving an all-out effort. As one of my clients has put it, I know you can't be productive 8 hours a day right now with kids at home and your partner at home as well. Give me an hour and a half, a good hour and a half in the morning, and then take a rest. Go for a walk, go for a run, meditate, make lunch with your kids, and give me another 1 or 2 hours in the afternoon. So doing this, so it's sustainable, we need to both give an effort and recover to improve. If we try to do this, eventually we'll go down. So that is one thing which I think is absolutely key. And as leaders, I think we also always need to remember, we need to do all this for ourselves. We need to do this for ourselves, and we need to model it for our people. How we manage our energy sets an example for our people. And one of my clients actually made that an explicit point during all hands meeting, where he talked about how he manages his day and his rhythm of effort and recovery, setting an example and being very transparent and vulnerable with his whole, it's about a shop of 100 people, with everybody in the company, how he does it and some of the struggles he's facing to normalize it, to encourage his people to do the same thing. So it's how do we get better? It's the effort and it's the recovery. And not to push the sports metaphor much further, although a little bit, because you're stuck with me, and when Shannon is here, we talk more about the military. But as I've said before, this is an ultra, not a sprint. This is an ultra endurance competition, and it's not a sprint. And I do know, in all modesty, a thing or two about how to finish an ultra. The people who finished the Race Across America, the Race Across America is a 3,000-mile non-stop bike race across the country from the West Coast to the East Coast. The clock never stops. You have 12 days to finish. The people who don't finish are those who in San Diego think about the finish line, who in San Diego think, I have to ride to Atlantic City. Those people won't finish. You know who finishes? The racers who think, I'm going to race to the next state line. I'm going to race to Arizona. And when they're in Arizona, they think, I'm going to race to Colorado. Just to Colorado, I'll make it to the state line. And when they're in Colorado, I'll make it to Oklahoma. Breaking it down into smaller, manageable bits is how you finish an ultra. And I think about the global pandemic right now as an ultra. How do we break down the big picture? People look at the vaccine, who knows, right? By the way, HIV, I remember vividly. In the 80s, they talked about they talked about we're going to have a vaccine in 2 years. 30 years later, we still don't have one. I hope that's not the case here. But who knows how we will how soon we'll have a vaccine. But thank you. Yes, thank you, Pamela, for the next week is start with the end in mind. That's exactly right. Yes. So how do we break down the pandemic we're facing, the global issues we're having, into our personal lives, one day, 1 week at the time? So that's how you finish an altar. And then, of course, what makes our current situation more challenging is that there's no clear finish line, right? So the metaphor of an ultra is not a perfect one, because we don't know when Atlantic City is, right? And so this is one of the things, and I will not briefly talk about the military, which we do in the military to stress out candidates and cadets. We say the exercise goes 48 hours of marching, of sleeping, of not sleeping, of having to navigate, and then at hour 47, you extend the exercise by 12 hours. Or similarly, you do a run. The run is 30 miles, and at mile 28, you tag on another 10 miles. And so the goalposts both keep shifting. And so what that leaves me with is, yes, we need to think big picture. We need to think with the end in mind, which will be the conversation we're going to have next week with Shannon back, I'm sure, where we talk about how do we start with the end in mind. We need to think about those big pictures we talked about in the very first session around lifting our sight up to the horizon. At the same time, sometimes to survive, to get through the day, we just have to focus on what we can do this hour, this afternoon, tomorrow, next week. So breaking it down. The last concept I just would like to touch on in terms of managing our energy is this notion of structure. So I'm Swiss, right? I'm here back in Switzerland, where it's, what is it now? 6 p.m. and it's 9 a.m. For most of you, or 12. I'm a very structured person, and I believe structure provides freedom. With the situation going on right now for many of us and for our team members, again, working from home, the boundaries are blurring between homeschooling kids, domestic obligations, and work. It is too easy for many of us to be on our laptops from 6 a.m. in the morning until 10 p.m. at night. And that, in my book, is the recipe for disaster and burnout in the long run. We can do this for a few weeks, we can do it maybe for a month, but structure provides freedom. Having clarity around when it's time to give the sprint, the short sprint, the hour and a half in the morning, the 2 hours in the morning of focused work, when it's time to reconnect with my family, when it's time to reconnect with myself, go for a walk, go for a run, meditate, and then give another good hard effort in the afternoon or whenever. So I think the importance of boundaries is crucial in order to manage our energies. So here is one takeaway I'd like for all of us to recommit to, actually, which is this. What boundary have you set and sort of fallen off lately? Or what boundary haven't you set, but you should and want to set around work and the things that revive you, so that you do not do what happened to me or what I did to myself during that race I described, but so that you don't go like that, but that you do this. You come back and we and give a good effort. So my takeaway for all of us today is a commitment around setting some boundaries between work and non-work. There is a time management system, and I'm going to finish with that. A time management system I absolutely love, which talks about so-called spirit days. So those are the days that we only focus on things that revive us. So this is over the course of the week. We have the work days and we have the buffer days. That's where we do errands. And then we have the spirit days. So spirit days are days where we focus on what truly is reviving our soul and feed our soul. So that's my spill on boundaries. I hope you took something away from today. I look forward to, and I need to get some rest here, can you tell? I look forward to chatting with all of you next Thursday morning at 9 a.m. when Shannon will be joining us again. Stay healthy, stay safe, be good. Take care.